Marlon Robb was a 17 years old boy who lived at Paragona, Utah in 1926. The whole family was sheep herders, and Marlon had a brother who helped the family with daily tasks. The family herd was being hunted for a while, and on June 5, 1926, Marlon and his brother decided to ride out on their horses to find the animal who had been doing it. During the ride, Marlon told his brother he had seen a coyote and told him he was going to hunt it down. So Marlon separated from his brother and started to look for the coyote. After a while, when Marlon didn't show up, his brother started to look for him and found Marlon's horse. There was blood on the saddle, and his brother's hat was on the saddle horn. The brother searched further and found a spot that he believed Marlon had sat down. There was more blood at the spot along with Marlon's rifle. The rifle was still loaded. He searched further, and after not having any success, he contacted authorities. The family had some political connection, and Utah governor sent special bloodhound dogs for assistance. Searchers scoured the area where Marlon's brother had found Marlon's rifle, and further down the perimeter they found Marlon's knife and part of his clothing saturated in blood. The bloodhound dogs that were brought into the scene were confused and didn't follow any scents. There were expert trackers among volunteers who looked for Marlon. One of them stated he couldn't find a single track going out of the spot where they found Marlon's rifle and believed he had rested. 100 searchers scoured the radius of 25 miles without finding Marlon. Volunteers' count reached to 1,000 men in the following days, and they searched for 3 weeks without finding anything more, which at that point the search was terminated. In late October 1933, almost 7 years after Marlon went missing, a deer hunter named Archie Lamoureux was in an area 6 miles from the camp Marlon was last seen when he came across bits of clothing, bits of shoes and partial skeleton. He had just found Marlon's remains. Following this incident, Marlon's father passed away 1 year later after his son went missing. There was no further information about the condition of the remains or the cause of death. On January 15, 1936, 4 years old Roy Rogers and his parents went to L.W. McDonald Ranch in Arizona to visit Roy's uncle. While the family was visiting, Roy started playing in the yard and somehow disappeared. Soon, a search effort was organized and volunteers were scouring the area. On the first day, searchers didn't find anything. On the second day, military commanding general sent his private plane to help with the search. The army also sent 3 planes from Marshfield, California, and there were Indian trackers among the searchers. The Indian trackers lost the track of the boy almost immediately. Several canine dogs also didn't follow any scents. The nights were cold, and the family stated Roy was wearing light clothing and they were afraid he wouldn't make it through the nights. 500 searchers looked for Roy for 4 days without finding a single trace of him. On the 5th day, Herschel Long was searching a rugged region 2 miles from the ranch and found a boot protruding from the rocks. He went closer and realized he had just found Roy's body. His body was found under a rock ledge. He was only wearing 1 boot. Authorities claimed they felt the boy died the first night. What happened to Roy remains a mystery to this day. The Robinson family lived in the outskirts of Melbourne, Australia. 63 years old Eric Robinson was an explorer and an adventurous guy. During his lifetime, he had conquered many mountains and walked major trails in Australia. Then he started tackling other trails in New Zealand, Scotland, California, and Utah. He was an experienced hiker and researched his hikes at length and read about the region to have an understanding of his environment before going there. In late July of 2011, Eric took a plane to Utah, United States for a new adventure in Uinta's wilderness. Eric's friends picked him up from airport and hosted him overnight. Eric gave his friends intimate details about his trip and where he was going. He told them to pick him up on August 7th. He was dropped at Highline Trailhead on July 28, 2011. For his trip, he had a red backpack, tent, sleeping bag, bear spray, personal transponder, cell phone, and 14 days of supply for a 10-day, 60 miles hike. On August 2nd, 4 days after Eric started his journey in the wilderness, a group of Boy Scouts along with their leader met Eric in the Yellowstone Creek drainage 4 miles off track from the Highline Trail. The troop stated Eric was in good health and upbeat spirit. The leader of the troop talked to Eric and gave him direction to how to get back to the correct trail and sent him hiking in that direction. August 7th arrived and Eric's friends were waiting for him at Mirrors Lake. When he didn't show up, his friends knew something was wrong. His friends called the authorities and a search effort soon was organized. The search group consisted of helicopters, all-terrain vehicles, volunteers, bloodhound dogs, and equestrians. Eric's wife was called and she stated Eric was in excellent shape and could survive for a long time if nothing dangerous happened to him. 15 days of intense search for Eric amounted to nothing. When Eric's wife realized the search group couldn't find her husband and the effort was coming to an end, she flew to Utah. All search operation was terminated on August 22nd. But Eric's wife continued her search. She put posters and photos of Eric everywhere. All the effort to find Eric was terminated without finding a single trace of him or his equipment. Eric never activated his personal transponder, which is crucial in finding a missing person. He also never used his cell phone. This area has dozens of lakes, ponds, and miles of exposed boulders. What happened to Eric remains a mystery to this day.